One shot. It's not a one shot. I did it again. I'm not gonna restart the video. I've done it like 4 or 5 times. Chumatsu Kimito to the End with You by Ruan. Remember, zombies, love, slice of life. Let's begin, everybody. Swarm, swarm. No, Mike. I wonder, why do zombies eat people anyways? They're already dead, so it's not like they need to eat to survive. And they can just bite people if they want to increase their numbers. Huh. I never really thought about it. You're always thinking about complicated stuff, Shuchan. Am I? Hmm. Munch. Hmm. Maybe they do it in an attempt to regain a soul. You know, like how they say eating is a form of taking a life. Zombies are simple hunks of flesh that have no souls, so maybe they think they could get theirs back by eating people. To the End with You, Chapter 2 by Ruwan. Let's see. Breaking news! Infection numbers surpass 1,000. Once bitten, you become infected. The disease known as zombieitis. Infection rates have been steadily rising across Tokyo City. We implore everyone to please stay indoors as much as possible. Shuchan, look at this! Meat! They're selling it super cheap! Wow, literally insane prices! Do you need that much, though? You gotta stock up when it's discounted! Yeah, but. These bags. These bags are so heavy! I tried to warn you. Our place is still a 20-minute walk from here. Ugh. Just gotta close my eyes and think of the meat. Ugh. Meat. Oh, I almost forgot. Today is meat day. That's right. What should I cook? I'll make whatever you want. I see. You're in good spirits again. Of course, I would be. Meat is like my raison d'être. Meat's your reason for living. It's scary, isn't it? Oh, even though they're already locked down overseas, right? I wish we could go. Hurry up and go remote too. I'm scared to escort clients outside. Same. Even the neighborhood is gossip is serious nowadays. How's it looking at your workplace, Tomoya? We'll be in a pinch if we don't get enough customers. Yeah. So, what do you want to eat? Preferably something with ground beef. Ground beef? Salisbury steak? Ah, it's so cold. You know, meat is. Wait, who's saying that? He is, I guess. You know, meat is always so nicely wrapped up in the packaging that it's easy to forget it was once a living creature. Most people have stopped consuming meat, but I have no problem eating it. Maybe that kind of thing just doesn't bother me. To eat Tomoya. I wonder exactly how should I do it while he's alive, after he's dead, sliced, fried, raw. No. I've been thinking about it for a long time. Oh no. Oh no. Is he gonna like try to murder him? Frightening, isn't it? That a human would eat another human. Their technique has been referred to as biting, but in this footage you could clearly see them eating. Perhaps their appetite driven by an impulse to consume, but the reason behind it hasn't been discovered yet. If I became a zombie, maybe I'll be able to eat Tomoya without a second thought. But would it make Tomoya happy if I were an empty, soulless husk who took his soul as my own? Shuchan, dinner's ready! Ta-da! Oh, it's Salisbury steak with an egg on top. That is a soft-boiled egg, in fact. Oh, soft-boiled egg. Oh, so you could make them at home? Huh. Bon appetit. Oh, it's delicious. Glad you like it. I see. Right now I'm eating food that was made by Tomoya, which could be considered a simulated version of the real thing. I mean, he's feeding me meat, right? As practice from when I eat him. Hello, Earth to Shuchan. Huh? Sorry, got a little caught up in my thoughts. Nothing to worry about. All good. Please, eat up. Mm-hmm. I will. The two of them were eating meat again today in preparation for that day. All right. So, this took a direction I didn't think it would take. Um, well, I guess I didn't quite know what direction it would take. Uh, it's fascinating. So they're drawing parallels to this was made in 2023, no? Or at least it was translated in 2023. Um, yeah. So this is drawing parallels to the 2020 crisis, no? With the whole COVID and every place locking down and everything. I didn't think it would be like that. That'd be a parallel, but this is interesting. Where it's like, hey, maybe we should go home already, even though neighborhood gossip is serious. I'm scared to escort clients outside. Will be a pinch, we get whatever. Even though there's already lockdown overseas, that's really interesting. So this is going to be like an analogy for people surviving during COVID and seeing the effects of it, and maybe the isolation or people being scared or people getting infected, perhaps. I don't think people. I don't think there was cannibalism with the COVID. I don't think that was a side effect. That's fascinating. That's really interesting. I also did not think they would take the whole area of like Tomoya's feeding him meat so that way he's preparing to eat him someday. I feel like Shu was just overthinking this because like I didn't think that he's like, oh, you're feeding me meat so that way I can go and learn to like your meat. Ha 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 ha. I'm gonna eat you someday. Ha 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 ha. Oh no, ha 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 ha. Right? There's a lot of things going on there, and I don't know how to feel about any of that. But I feel like he's just being paranoid here, and that like it's meat once a week. I don't think it's a bad thing. In fact, meat every day seems to be more my style, or as much meat as you can. That must be a very. Is that an American thing? Meat so frequently? Because I eat meat. Do I eat meat every day? I had meat today. Literally gonna eat some meat after this. Had meat yesterday, and the day before is too long to think about. I think I did. Yeah, I think I do eat meat nearly every day. I didn't think about that. That's interesting. This does look good. When he said Salisbury steak, I was like, how is that out of ground beef? Because I think it's something different. I think it's Salisbury steak. But yeah, I mean, that probably is a thing. Or maybe it's the closest translation. So I'm guessing those are potatoes, Salisbury steak. Is that spaghetti? He's eating the spaghetti on the side, little spaghetti. Are those unless no? Those look like fried potatoes, right? Unless they're like orange slices or apple slices or something on some spaghetti and meat. That's all it is. And it's like, how is this a simulated version of the real thing? Is it going to be like he tastes like ground beef and then this will ooze out of him? Um, and this too, I think it's fascinating. This question, he's like, he could just say no to not eating him, right? But then he's gonna be like, no, no, no. How should I eat him? Alive would be pretty horrid, but okay, I guess biting a piece of him, sure. After he's dead, I mean, I thought that was the default, right? Sliced. I like, do you just bite a foot and then be like, oh, like that? Oh man, I don't even want to think about if my teeth could penetrate flesh. I'm sure that any human being's teeth can. 'Cause, I mean, with sensitive teeth, like, ow. But I feel like mentally there'd be a block there. For me to just chomp down hard, like the, like that. Oh gosh, I don't even want to think about it. Sliced? Is he gonna cut off his skin or something, or cut off a finger? I don't know. Fried? I didn't. Is he gonna batter him up and then boom? I don't know. Raw? I feel like raw would be, I guess, if he wants to be safe, right? Oh gosh, yeah. The customers, but the stock up on the meat, that didn't quite happen during COVID. Prices went up, right? Literally insane prices. And this talk of the soul stuff is fascinating. Why do zombies eat people, right? Because we don't really act too much. We just go brains, brains. So for this, um, you know, I did read the comment about hey, the whole talk of the afterlife, and it might come up through a little bit of this here. Um, so the whole concept of the soul, depends on the culture you look at. If we look at like the scientific perspective, at least from what I've studied, there's a couple of things. And the thing is that how do you define consciousness versus the body, right? Because what makes you you essentially? Because at the moment we can't quite just point to like a certain collection of cells or parts of your brain and be like, this is you. This is the part where Lorenzo exists here. And if this part is damaged, he no longer exists, right? Patients are brain dead sometimes, but they're not really brain dead. We could sometimes hear what's going on and they're still conscious, but they shouldn't be able to because they're not conscious, right? There's no, or allegedly no activity going on, right? Um, but there are other times where you damage parts of the brain and then their personality changes. The most Phineas, not the, Phineas, there you go. The most famous example is Phineas. Phineas Gage took a pole to the head and the personality changed after, right? So, how does this relate to the souls? Well, there's a couple of things. Well, first, scientists have tried to study if the soul has a physical weight. I forget the name of this guy, but basically he took people from like hospice or old homes and measured them at the point of death, and then weighed them to see if there's any difference between the before and after weight. Because ideally, the soul leaves the body. He found it was about 20 some odd grams difference here, but this was not a good scientific experiment, so most scientists don't believe it. It only involved 6 patients, and only one of the patients had a change in weight. Um, and that's just not good data. Perhaps it might have been the scale being a little bit off or swept, but you can't base your data off of that to say the soul weighs 20 odd grams, right? You need actual more empirical evidence. Also, fun fact: that person didn't think dogs had souls because the dogs didn't change their weight afterwards. And to say a dog doesn't have a soul, I don't know. If we're gonna say people have souls, I want my little puppies, which I don't have here anymore, but in the future, I want puppies to have souls. Anywho, so how does this relate again to the whole concept of the soul stuff? Is that this could be tangibly an out of body experience, and I mentioned this before. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Where like when somebody's near death, they have a near death experience or an out of body experience rather, and then they're like being or whatever it is, they can float up above their body, and they can kind of see what's going on around them, right? So they can go, and they've done reports where they can accurately recount what happened in a surgery. They could talk about things that happened in a different room completely. They could go to a different location, and then they can accurately say what happened at that location, or like the geography of the location, right? Sometimes they're contacted by loved ones. Sometimes they contact loved ones. Um, and so, even further than this is the idea that when they have this out of body experience, when we measure this empirically or with science, there's not every out of body experience necessarily can indicate like something beyond our current conception, because some people when they're like dying, we think okay, maybe hyperactive, maybe their brain is like going on, and they could tell stuff that's happening in the room ideally. So even if they have a near death experience, if they can't accurately retell, then is there anything there? But what we do see is that when we look at certain out of body experiences, and for them to actually be able to tell what's happening, and then tell things that they had no way of knowing, right? If the person's in a different room where there's zero chance of them talking about it, how are they accurately able to recreate it, right? We don't quite know about that yet. And this is related to the idea of consciousness, because what's happening is maybe their soul, maybe their consciousness is leaving their body, a bit briefly. And if it was just like, hey, I saw my grandma, I saw my mom, I saw a loved one, then okay, sure, it's whatever. Maybe your brain is experiencing this, and it's a way to comfort itself as it's dying. But the fact that it's able to recount these events that it shouldn't be able to recount, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? We don't quite know. Some scientists have said the body, your body and your consciousness are different, and it's a whole fascinating thing. We'll probably talk more about this tomorrow, inevitably, when it comes to this. Where was I with the consciousness thing? I guess maybe we'll talk more about that tomorrow. We might talk about the psychological effects of cannibalism a bit tomorrow too. That one I just saw on TikTok and I thought it was fascinating to just listen to it. I know this is weird stuff, but yeah, and just to talk a little bit more about the whole near-death experience versus the consciousness experience, at least from what I've learned, right, is that when the people like die, or and when we say death, we typically mean the death of the heart, or rather, your heart stops beating, no brain activity, no heart work. At that point, it's done. You're done, right? You shouldn't come back, but people obviously come back. And so, as they experience this death, there's this overwhelming sense of peace, overwhelming sense of comfort. Like I said, they sometimes see somebody, not necessarily a religious figure, sometimes a religious figure, sometimes somebody they know, sometimes they don't know, sometimes a literal silverback gorilla, sometimes just presence, a presence that they might think is God, or maybe the universe has the answer to everything. And there's all these different conceptions, but the majority of them go and report overwhelming peace. I think the data is like 80% of them, an overwhelming sense of peace in their death, or not death, and rather in their out of body experience, in their near death. And oftentimes people will go and sometimes need to decide: do they go? Do they stay? Sometimes the voice advises them on what to do. And some people think, and this is going to be fun, that this is called the Borderlands. So Alice in Borderlands, I love the series. And I wonder if it was based on this, but essentially, some people think, no, there's no soul here, or no afterlife or whatever, but rather, it's just your brain getting messed up with a conscious experience. Because when you're awake, you're conscious. When you're asleep, is that consciousness? Maybe. And maybe it's consciousness to a different dimension or something, or different whatever. Your brain is trying to replay itself for survival. We don't quite know what dreams are either, the purpose of them. And so, what some scientists think is this near death experience is not you going to an afterlife, but you getting stuck in what's called the borderlands. So, rather than you either being fully asleep or fully awake, you're kind of in that in between zone, right? We're like, oh, I'm conscious, I'm not conscious here. And I think that'd be a really interesting thing if, like, if that was true to an extent. Do you have a choice to leave the borderlands, right? Maybe you think of Alice in Borderlands, where similar concepts. It's fascinating. Let's look at that. And I don't want to spoil Alice in Borderlands either. But yeah, there's all these interesting conceptions of the afterlife and what it is and what it might not be, and it's interesting to say the very very least. Um, Let me think. So consciousness. We don't quite know what consciousness is. Is the consciousness just cells? Is the consciousness just a body? Is the consciousness not a body experience here? Yeah. Who knows? The consciousness could be a lot of things. And that's it's interesting here because in their conception here, and it's a really interesting philosophical conception, they do it in an attempt to regain a soul. Because then that means that the soul is something intangible. And maybe if you wanted to rewrite a story, a zombie story, and you really wanted to get super philosophical here, you could have them bite a piece of the brain to regain that piece of the soul, that piece of the consciousness here. Or maybe that's what they think will happen, but it doesn't happen. I don't know. There's a lot that this could happen here. And I guess we'll see a little bit more. The zombies have no souls. That's interesting. Do they have no souls or no consciousness? Or maybe the soul and the consciousness are separate things. Is it mind, body, soul? Is your conscious a part of your body? Is the conscious part of your soul? Right? And that's fascinating, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a lot of existential dread. Or maybe not dread, maybe comfort. Because I am personally more comforted by it than anything else. It helps me kind of cope. But yeah. Anywho, we'll see what the next one's about. Oh, we're gonna start with a love confession next one, maybe. So, thank you for sitting through this lovely. Oh yeah. I'm also just not pulling this out my ass. I um, there's like certain books you can read, certain scientific studies you could look up. Near death experiences, out of body experiences, these are all like terms you can look up in some studies that are fascinating. And some, and they're still contentious with the science here, right? So I can't say definitively there is a soul, definitively there's not a soul. I can't definitively say something like this proves there's a God, this doesn't prove there's a God or an afterlife, not an afterlife. I can only report on the data that's been told. And a lot of these scientists are atheists or adamantly not believing in this that are studying this. And it's really, really fascinating to kind of read all these accounts and see what's going on. But yeah, if you ever feel a need to Google it, That's what you could do. There's some books about it too. There's some books about what do you call those? Where like you're in hospice care, and some people report like seeing ghosts in the room or seeing things in the corners or other things like that, and it's really interesting, really interesting. But yeah, that's it. Just wanted to put that out there, and maybe I'm being a little bit too thorough by saying that, but I also want to be like completely accurate with our knowledge, with our knowledge, with our lack of knowledge, with the possible explanations as well. Because neuroscience or the study of the brain is still relatively new. There's a lot we still don't know about the brain. So when we're dying, there could be a lot of different things going on at that last moment there. And will it be an explanation? Maybe, maybe not. But it's all important to take the data holistically, all as one, and not just go like, "Hey, this is all there is, and this is definitive fact." Because science is always evolving, continuous, and whatever. Because there are some things that are a little bit contentious, or maybe not contentious, but like that I might leave out, like the overwhelming sense of peace that people feel when they die, or like a bright light or something. That's to an extent is true, but there are a select couple who experience death and pain and hellish visions as well, right? And it's like, oh no, all of this stuff has happened to me. So, there's still like, there's a lot more, is basically what I mean to say to this. And, if nothing else, it's just a fun thing to look at in your free time, especially if you do have existential dread, but you want some grounding, you know? And I guess that's everything. More than half this video was let's red stuff. We'll see if anything new comes up with the next one. But yeah, maybe this will be my new series. Maybe I'll just find a series that's vaguely related and turn this into like some type of vague lesson. I'm also a little bit more existential because again, it's graduation time around here, and a lot of my students are graduating, and it's bittersweet, but it's ultimately more sweet, and I'm proud of them. So with all that being said, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for being born, y'all. Peace.